Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I just got back from the gym and wanted to put together a video for you all. And today I have a really good topic for you. And this is something that I've thought about for a long time. And there's been ebbs and flows of me realizing how important this is for powerlifting in general. And there's a connection that I made in today's training that kind of brought it to my mind to the forefront to actually want to discuss with you all. So today's topic overall is simply going to be the two main qualities, in my opinion, that make for a successful powerlifter. So what I mean by qualities, these aren't necessarily going to be physical qualities. Of course, genetics, diet, atmosphere, training environment, coaching, all of those are going to play a crucial role into the success of a powerlifter. But today I'm going to focus on qualities that happen between here and kind of the things that I think you need to be successful, and maybe that I've seen people who have fallen out of love of the sport, what do they tend to have and what happens to them. So the first quality or trait that you have to have, and this one's a little bit more obvious, to the untrained eye for powerlifting, you have to enjoy heavy training, right? You have to enjoy that process of getting under a heavy weight that is maybe a little bit scary. I don't care who you are. If you're trying to push yourself and get stronger in the gym, for 1 rep maxes, eventually you're going to be a little bit scared. I have fairly conservative training, I would say. I do not miss many lifts. I do not push to failure, especially in that 1 rep max range. However, I know every year I'm going to face a couple days of training where I am just simply scared, right? Or nervous about getting under the bar. But to be truly good at powerlifting, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable under super heavy weight. And you need to push it, those 1 rep maxes. You need to have that mentality of being technically proficient, but also some aggression to, and some may call it being crazy, to get under the bar for those really heavy loads. On the flip side, right? And I think that's the natural avenue for most powerlifters. Most of us get into this because we love getting under the super heavy weights. And I hardly ever see that being an issue. And if it is an issue, if someone's not interested in getting under super heavy weights, usually they don't become a powerlifter anyway, because that is the sport, right? That's what you sign up to do, is basically to get under really heavy loads for one time. This second trait is a little bit less obvious, and in my experience, I've seen many lifters, personally friends of mine, who have been really into that first trait, getting under heavy weight. I'll also say, for these people, there tends to be an ego boost, even in the gym, loading up a really heavy weight. People are bound to start looking over and be interested. That's an ego boost. Those people who just have that can make it far in the sport, but they tend not to last as long. And kind of my thinking as to why is because just 1 rep max and heavy lifting all the time can only take you so far. For one, you've heard me talk about building the base of the pyramid, and your pyramid can only be as strong as the base is wide. That's kind of what volume does for you. So those people tend to skip the volume work and always push it really heavy, and they can make it really far, but eventually you're going to have to delve into the rep work. And I've had people say, hey, volume doesn't work for me. Usually what they mean is, I don't enjoy volume, right? Because if you don't enjoy it, you're a little bit less likely to push things and actually intentionally get better. Maybe you go in and you coast a little bit through the volume work. And whenever it flips, those people want no part of that usually. And so they skip it, and then they end up in this cycle where the 1 rep max kind of isn't going anywhere because that base of the pyramid isn't getting any bigger. So to complement that, to be a truly good power lifter, and I think that's why if you look around, a lot of really good power lifters do start out as bodybuilders or some sort of bodybuilding training, rep training, and it's because they not only love lifting heavy weights, as you do as a power lifter, but they also love pushing themselves in other ways with the rep scheme. So this is where it comes into me today. You know, my lifts were something like 52% of my 1 rep max on squat. And then that was for sets of 8. And then I had sets of 12 on Bulgarian split squats, where I literally had 25s on the safety squat bar, and I was still dying, right? And I'm like feeling like I'm gonna throw up in the gym, and it hurts, and right, even now I am not thinking clearly, so if I'm stumbling, that's why. There is a side of me that loves that. And whenever I'm in heavy training mode for a meet, there is that side of me that is like, I can't wait until we switch and we push ourselves in those other ways, that feeling that lactic acid burn. With these reps, it's not as much mentally taxing in the fact that I feel like I could break or get injured and get crushed by the weight like I might feel with a 1 rep max. But it's a whole nother way of pushing yourself whenever you have that burn and your lungs are burning, especially when you're not acclimated to the high rep scheme. It's a whole different mindset. And in my opinion, and this is just from me, I think to be a very successful powerlifter, you have to enjoy that, right? And I might complain and moan about like, oh, that volume was terrible. But really what I mean is, in the moment it felt terrible, but I enjoy it. I enjoy pushing past those limits of like pain, and this hurts, but at no point am I worried that I'm going to get injured from these, which is a really nice mental break. And some powerlifters simply do not have that same enjoyment for lightweight and high repetition stuff. So my message to you all is, you know, if you enjoy both, that's great, right? Because that high rep work is what's going to build that base out. And then when you pivot to the low rep stuff, you can build your pyramid higher. If you love both, like I do, right? And to be quite honest, I think, in my opinion, I like the rep stuff better, right? And maybe that has led to some of my success. I like pushing through the burn a little bit more than I like going into the gym scared, or not scared, but nervous about a super heavy weight. And I could care less if somebody's looking at what I'm lifting in the gym, right? I've said it before, if I could lift 135 pounds in the gym and then hit a PR, 800 pounds plus on the platform, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I don't care what anyone in the gym thinks, and hopefully that's kind of how you feel too. But if you are not like that, right, it's not a lost cause, but you have to recognize that you have the personality that doesn't love the volume, and you need to push through it, especially if you want to be a good power lifter. Don't just use the excuse, it doesn't work for me, when maybe you're just mentally out of it. You gotta find a way to rope yourself in, push it to the limit, even through those rep sets, and it will pay off, right? I promise you, it'll pay off down the road with the heavier sets and the heavier singles. So that'll about do it for today, in the risk of me ranting anymore. So I appreciate you all watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. As always, I appreciate the community that we're building here. Every one of you kind of motivate me to continue not only training but posting on here. So thank you all as always, and until next time, happy lifting.